So this is my 2-player dealer to go with my 2-player Duel Blade for playing Yu-Gi-Oh! The way it works is this piece bends open to hold you the deck of cards on both sides. On both sides it opens up to hold one deck of cards on each side. This slot is for the extra deck. These dividers will separate the graveyard and the banish zone. For when cards go to the graveyard, they go underneath this divider, and banished cards go under this divider. And the way it is used is it straps onto the arm. As tightly as we'll keep it. Then the Duel Blade goes onto the arm. You insert the deck in each side. In order to insert the deck, you must make sure that the dividers are at the bottom of the slot there. And then you insert the deck into each side. And then you insert the extra deck into the bottom slot here. Of course, on each side. For some reason, this Duel Blade wants to come off of the... Anyways, you open the Duel Blade. You can draw cards from the dealer, one at a time, and... Are these upside down again? I put them in upside down. Anyways, you draw cards from the dealer. And you play your cards on the blade, which for some reason keeps falling off. I don't know why it keeps falling off. I haven't had this problem ever before. Okay, you play your cards on the blade. You know, I think the blade is just not tight. Let me make sure that the Duel Blade is inserted properly. Okay, inserted properly. Now, if the Duel Blade is inserted properly, you can play the cards on the blade, like that. And then if your card gets destroyed in battle and goes to the graveyard, you slip it underneath the graveyard tab, and it's in the graveyard. And if it gets banished, like say by a card effect, you slip it underneath the banished tab, like that. And if you need to pull from your extra deck to summon a monster, you pull from your extra deck and you summon the monster, and then you replace the extra deck. And you can play Yu-Gi-Oh! And all the mechanisms on this side exist on the mirror side, on the other side of my arm, allowing for 2 players to play Yu-Gi-Oh! Completely, dealer and all. on one Duel Blade. And when you're done with the game, you remove all the cards, extra deck first, and then deck. And you have to remove the extra deck before the main deck, because if you remove the main deck first, this will loosen up and the extra deck will fall out and get messy. So, and then you close up the Duel Blade. And, oh, I forgot I had one banished. And you can go about your day. And these little areas that contain the deck can hold any number of cards greater than 0, which allows it to hold, or which allows the game to be played even if there are no cards in the deck or in the graveyard or banished, which is almost impossible in the first place. And so this and then you remove it. If you get home, you want to take it off quite easily. And just to show that the other side does work just as well, deck, extra deck, moving things around, nothing's falling out. Couple cards, oh, piece of the extra deck. Couple cards get destroyed. Couple cards get banished. It all works on both sides. And it allows for 2 players to play Yu-Gi-Oh! Well, and this plus this, both together will allow for 2 players to play Yu-Gi-Oh! Anywhere, anytime, so long as one player has both of these. I forgot to mention improvements I could make on this 2-player Yu-Gi-Oh! Dealer, because there are improvements that can be made, as there always are. The primary improvements to make would be in the extra deck slot. It is so loose that pulling out the entire deck causes the extra deck to fall out. I can fix that by changing this bottom plate here from a straight line to a curve like this one, allowing it to go up and touch, well, not touch, but basically nearly meet this edge here, and this edge can be continued to about here to allow for that. That would make the resting position of this a little bit more like this. And I could also make this longer. The reason for making it longer would be to allow it to, give it something to like press down on, to like slide. It would give it like a tongue, right, to press on, to open it up, to allow you to insert the extra deck more easily. As it is, it's already plenty easy to insert and remove the extra deck. But that's mostly from the shape being loose in the first place. Those are the chief improvements I could make. I had designed this with the thought that I was going to put walls around it so that when you do this and this, the deck wouldn't fall out, but the deck already didn't fall out, so I didn't bother with the walls, which means that this circle here is useless because this was entirely just a way to attach those walls to this piece so that I wouldn't be printing it all as one piece and then the walls would be attached to it and nothing can move, right? The dividers could maybe use some refinements. There might be a better shape for them besides just a simple rectangle. I don't know about that. I can see pros and cons to a lot of different shapes for these dividers. You can maybe even make a triangle, and that would allow you to grab the graveyard or the banished cards without having to sneak your fingers underneath. But you can sneak your fingers underneath pretty easily, so is that really necessary, right? You could put a little indent here for your finger to do this to the cards, but that's probably not going to help very much. You could only make these as long as the cards themselves and add tabs to differentiate them instead of making them longer than the cards. But my fear with that was that it would not make it as clear, right? The position or where the graveyard is and where the banished monsters are, or banished cards are. So the dividers could maybe have some refinements on their shape. If I can come up with a better system than this for attaching it to my arm, that would be nice. But so far, this is the best system I have for attaching anything to my arm. So that's why this is like that, but this one here, this little strap will be here, is a bit flimsy, not quite as rigid as I would like, and it has to be very thin in order to not obstruct the Duel Blade. So yes, there are improvements, but this is a functioning piece. It works quite well. It is feature complete for all of the features that I wanted it to have. And any more improvements are mostly just a nitpick. So therefore, this project has reached its conclusion. And this is my 2-player dealer to go with my 2-player Duel Blade for Yu-Gi-Oh! Also, it stands up on its own, which is pretty cool.